Have you ever really thought about a website? I mean, not just as a page you look at, but as a place you actually go to, an environment you interact with. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and explore the architecture of these digital spaces, from the very first blueprint all the way to that final polished experience. You know the feeling, right? You land on one website, and everything just clicks. It's smooth, it's fast, it's actually a pleasure to use. And then the next one is just a clunky, confusing nightmare. Well, I'll tell you, that difference isn't an accident. It's not just luck. There is a whole science and a deep strategy going on behind the scenes, and we're about to break it all down. So at the very heart of all this is what we call the digital customer experience. And this is so much bigger than just one visit to one website. It's the ground total of every single digital interaction you have with a brand. It's this really fascinating mix of the rational, does this button actually work? And the emotional, how does this website make me feel? Just like you wouldn't build a house without a solid plan, a great digital experience always starts with a blueprint. And this first step is all about finding the perfect balance between two really powerful and sometimes competing forces. On one side of the scale, you have user-centered design. That's all about you, the user. It asks, how can we make this as easy and intuitive as possible for the person using it? But on the other side, you've got marketing-led design, which is focused squarely on the business goals, making sales, getting signups. The real magic, the sweet spot, is when you get these two to work together in perfect harmony. And this quote from Alison Lancaster really just hits the nail on the head. It always, always begins with the user. Before anyone writes a single line of code, the best teams out there are this diving deep, trying to understand the customer's world completely. Okay, so we've got our blueprint, it's solid. But how do you actually turn that piece of paper, that plan, into a real, working, interactive website? Let's get into the build phase and see how it all comes together. The whole process usually kicks off with something called a wireframe. Now, I want you to think of this as the absolute bare-bones skeleton of a web page. We're not worried about pretty colors, we're not worried about cool fonts here, nope. The only thing that matters at this stage is the structure. Where does the menu go? Where do the buttons live? What's the most important thing on this page? After the wireframe, we move on to the prototype. Now, this is where things start to feel real. It's a version you can actually click on, you can interact with it, and you can get a real feel for how the site is going to work. And this step is absolutely crucial because it lets real users test it out and give feedback before the team starts the expensive process of actually building the thing. Back in the early days of the web, building a website was this huge, long process. A team might go away for a year and then, bam, they'd come back with this massive, finished thing. But today, the approach is so much more dynamic, so much more flexible. And this modern approach is called agile development. The basic idea is actually really simple. Instead of doing one giant, risky overhaul every few years, you make small, frequent improvements. Think about your favorite app on your phone and how it gets a little new feature every few weeks. Well, that's agile in action. It's all about evolving constantly and responding to what users actually need. And that brings us to a really huge shift in how we think about websites. See, launching a site isn't the finish line anymore, not even close. In fact, a lot of the time, it's just the starting gun. As soon as a website is live and out there in the wild, the focus switches to something called conversion rate optimization, or CRO. It's basically the science of making the site better at doing what it's supposed to do, whether that's making a sale, getting you to book something, or signing up for a newsletter. It's this nonstop cycle of testing and improving. And the number one tool for CRO is something called A/B testing. It sounds technical, but it's incredibly simple. You start with a guess, a hypothesis. Like, hey, I bet if we change this button from blue to green, more people will click it. Then you show some users the blue button, that's version A, and you show other users the green button, that's version B. You just measure the results and let the data tell you which one worked better. It's an amazing way to stop guessing and start making smart, data-driven decisions. So you might be wondering, does this stuff actually work in the real world? You bet it does. Take the fashion retailer Jack Wells. They used these exact techniques, personalization and testing, and saw a 12% increase in their conversions. For a big company, that is a huge deal for the bottom line. But look, optimization isn't just about the pretty stuff you see on the page. It's also about something we can all feel: speed. In our world today, every single millisecond counts. A tiny delay can have a massive impact.
And if you don't believe me, check out this data from Google. It's pretty shocking. A bounce is when someone visits your site and leaves almost immediately. As you can see, just slowing a page down from 1 second to 3 seconds makes it 32% more likely someone will leave. Take that up to 6 seconds, and they are over 100% more likely to be gone. The message is crystal clear. Speed isn't just a feature, it's absolutely essential.
So that's kind of where we are today. But what about tomorrow? Where is all of this going? Well, the websites of the future are going to be less like static pages and more like smart, adaptive buildings that change for every single person who walks through the door. And there are really three huge trends that are driving this whole evolution: radical personalization, the Internet of Things, and the way augmented reality is blurring the line between our digital and physical worlds. With personalization, the website that you see and the website that I see, it could be completely different, even if we type in the exact same address. Based on what we've done before, the site will literally adapt in real time to show us the things we're most likely to be interested in.
Then you've got the Internet of Things, or IoT. This is where regular, everyday objects get connected to the internet. Just imagine a bottle of whiskey that lets you send a video message to your friend when you give it to them as a gift, or running shoes that track how many miles you've run and tell you when it's time for a new pair. See, the product isn't just a product anymore, it's the start of a service.
And finally, there's augmented reality, AR. This is where digital stuff gets layered right on top of our real world. You can use your phone's camera to see exactly how that new couch would look in your living room before you even think about buying it. It just completely closes the gap between the online store and your actual home.
So from that very first blueprint all the way to these smart, futuristic experiences, there is a massive amount of thought and strategy that goes into every single website you visit. So the next time you're browsing the web, I want you to look a little closer. Now that you've had a peek behind the curtain, what new details are you going to notice?